What's good, y'all? What's good, y'all? This your boy 13th Disciple, 13TH, aka the Young John the Baptist. You know what it is. Grab your Bible, grab your pad, grab your pen, grab your highlighter. We're about to dive into this gospel, and you about to get this work. It's time for another episode of Disciple Me, the Hood Rich Edition. Let's go! All right, y'all, so we have two main passages that we're going to be going over today. The first passage is in 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 1 through 7, and then the second passage is in Matthew chapter 25, verse 14 through 30, and the New Living Translation. Now, we're going to go through other passages as well, but those are the two main passages that we're going to go over today. Today's message, y'all, is very powerful. I need you to make sure you like, comment, and share with everyone you can. Today's message is called The Math Ain't Mathin'. All right, y'all, so let's chop it up real quick. So I've been doing some research, and as I've been doing my research and doing some studying, America is broke, y'all. Like straight up, America is broke. I know everybody be capping on Instagram, they be capping on TikTok, they be flexing, but the reality is people are living paycheck to paycheck. People are in credit card debt above their heads. People are struggling right now, living paycheck to paycheck, trying to keep a roof over their heads, y'all, trying to make sure they keep the lights on, trying to make sure they keep the water on. People are struggling. Don't look at the gram and compare your life to people, because most of them, they be capping, y'all. So listen, in my study time, y'all, get this. Right now in America, the student loan debt is at $1.7 trillion, y'all. I'm not talking millions, I'm not talking billions, I'm talking trillions of dollars. $1.7 trillion America is in right now in student loan debt. And get this, right now, the credit card debt in America is $1.1 trillion. So we got like $2 million worth of debt right now between credit card debt and between student loan debt. This is a problem, y'all. This is crazy. So let's chop it up and talk real quick. All right, y'all, I want you to listen to this, y'all. So as I continue to do my research and dive in, I found out some more facts, y'all. I want you to listen to this real quick. So right now, about 43% of Americans say they depend on their credit cards for essential living expenses, such as their housing, their food, and their utilities. The average credit card user right now spends about $1,579 on their credit cards each month, with a whopping 1 in 8, that's 12%, saying they're putting more than $5,000 on their credit cards each month. That means everybody out here is capping, y'all, for real. If your job right now gives you a 1% or a 2% raise, the reality is, with inflation going up 3% every year, the reality is you're still broke after you got that raise. So it's psychology. It's a system that they keep us in this rat race, going around and around and around in circles. And the reality is, y'all, this ain't the way to live. People are out here surviving, but I believe God wants you to thrive. I want you to type that in right now in the chat. God does not want you to survive. God wants you to thrive. This is a season right now where I believe God wants you to thrive. And I'm going to give you some tips, and I'm going to give you some tools, and I'm going to show you how practically throughout the Bible, how you can be able to thrive in this season. No more surviving, y'all. No more surviving. It's time to thrive. So listen, y'all, I've been there. I remember going to plenty of jobs throughout my life where I woke up in the morning and I'm like, bruh, like I dread going to work right now. I don't want to go there. But I felt trapped. I felt like I have to go because I have to provide for my wife. I have to provide for myself. I have to keep a roof over our heads. I have to make sure the lights are being paid, the water's being paid. It wasn't really my passion to go to these jobs, but I knew I had to go just to be able to keep a roof over my head. And right now, you might be feeling trapped. Right now, you might be feeling depressed. I realize most people right now, they're depressed, they're dealing with anxiety, they're having marriage problems, problems, and it really boils down to a lot of people are struggling financially. Their bills are piling up. They don't have a job right now. They're looking for a job. They get a job, but they don't really want to go to that job because it's not really their passion. And so a lot of people right now, they're struggling financially. And today, I'm going to show you practically and biblically how you can be able to tap in to what God created you to do so you can get out of the rat race, so you can begin to thrive and not survive, y'all. Listen, you were created by a creative creator who created you to create. Listen to me. Again, you were created by a creative creator who created you to create. The reason why most people are depressed right now is because they're going to 2-week training classes, and as they're going to these 2-week training classes, they're doing what they were trained to do and not what they were created to do. Listen, you and I, we weren't just born just to go to work. We were born to create. And unless you tap in to the creator to find out what you were created to do, you'll continue to go from job to job, depressed, going in this rat race, trying to survive to live, when God says, if you would just seek me, if you would just spend time with me and build a relationship with me, I would show you what you were created to do. And when you find out what you're created to do, you will no longer exist, but you will live. You will no longer survive, but you will thrive. So we're about to go over a scripture, y'all, in 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 1 through 7, and the New Living Translation. In this particular passage, we're going to read about this widow. And this widow, her husband just recently died. And what happened was she was now dealing with so much debt. She had bill collectors calling her. She had bills piling up in the mail. She was really struggling to take care of her 2 sons, obviously because the husband didn't leave the kids or herself with any type of financial stability after he died. I don't know if he died unexpectedly. The Bible doesn't tell us how he died. The Bible doesn't tell us what age he was. All we know is that he left his kids and he left his wife with nothing, y'all. And so now she's dealing with all of this financial stress. And there's a prophet called Elijah that comes to her and he asks her a question. I want you to read with me real quick, y'all. Let's read. One day, the widow of a member of the group of prophets came to Elijah and cried out, "My husband who served you is dead, and you know how he feared the Lord. But now a creditor has come, threatening to take my 2 sons as slaves. What can I do to help you?" Elijah asked. "Tell me, what do you have in the house?" Now, I want you to circle and I want you to highlight that part. Elijah said, "What do you have in the house?" "Nothing at all, except a flask of oil," she replied. And Elijah said, "Borrow as many empty jars as you can from your friends and neighbors. Then go into your house with your sons and shut the door behind you. Pour olive oil from your flask into the jars, setting each one aside when it is filled." So she did as she was told. Her sons kept bringing jars to her, and she filled one after another. Soon every container was full to the brim. "Bring me another jar," she said to one of her sons. "There aren't any more," he told her. And then the olive oil stopped flowing. When she told the man of God what had happened, he said to her, "Now sell the olive oil and pay your debts, and you and your sons can live on what is left over." I need you to go back and I need you to circle and highlight that part, y'all. He says, now sell the olive oil and pay your debts, and you and your sons can live on what is left over. So let's chop it up real quick, y'all. So as I was stating earlier, what we're seeing here is that this woman is now stressed out financially. She's over here trying to figure out how she's gonna take care of her 2 boys, all because the husband did not have any type of financial legacy set up or any type of financial plan set up for his children, y'all. Listen, if you go to Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22 in the New Living Translation, it says, "Good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren, but the sinner's wealth passes to the godly." I'm gonna read that again. "Good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren, but their sinner's wealth passes to the godly." Listen, if you're a good man or you're a good woman, if you're a good parent, you should be thinking about your grandchildren. How can I put myself in a financial position to where not only my children are straight, but I wanna make sure my grandchildren are straight. I wanna make sure they don't have to start from scratch, y'all. This man obviously obviously wasn't a good man. He obviously wasn't a forward thinker, because now his wife is over here widowed and she's trying to figure out, how do I take care of my 2 sons? Listen, they're over here about to take her 2 sons and put them into slavery. In the Old Testament, if you could not pay your debt, you would have to sell yourself into slavery or sell your kids into slavery, y'all. So imagine right now, we on some stuff like they'll repo your car, you know what I'm saying? They can take your house away, you know what I'm saying? But back in the day, they would literally take your kids and sell them into slavery if you could not pay off your debt, y'all. This leads me to believe, first point, this man obviously probably didn't have life insurance, y'all. I remember when my wife and myself went to go look at life insurance, the thing on the lady's table, it says GoFundMe is not life insurance, y'all. I can't tell you how many times I've been on Facebook and people be putting up on their Facebook posts, hey, can you help us pay for this funeral? Such and such died. People be out here trying to sell chicken dinners and fried catfish dinners so you can be able to pay for somebody's funeral, all because you were irresponsible and you couldn't put away $50, $100 to make sure you can get a proper burial and leave your family with something. This is the first point that I want you to get, y'all. I want to make sure you have life insurance. People say the Bible's not practical, the Bible's not relevant, the Bible's outdated. Catholic people, they took scriptures and they took chapters out the book, and you know what I'm saying, like we can't trust the word because it was written by man. But listen, it's mad practical, y'all, if you take the time to actually read it, because what I'm reading here right now is this woman is in a financial crisis because her husband did not leave her or her kids any money. Listen, he had no life insurance. I need to make sure with the first point that you extract from this passage, get some life insurance. Do not put your family in a situation to where they're mourning your death and also stressed out financially, y'all. That's the first nugget that you can get from this chapter. Now, the second thing I want you to get from this is that when the woman's crying broke and the woman's over here struggling financially, the prophet asked her a question. He said, what do you have on the inside of your house? What do you have on the inside of your house? AKA, what is on the inside of you? He did not tell her to go get her resume together. He did not tell her to make sure she refreshed and updated her LinkedIn profile. He said, what is on the inside of your house? AKA, what is on the inside of you? What did God create you to do? What did God put on the inside of you before you were even born? What oil, what gift, what talent is on the inside of you? And you're going over here trying to get a new job, and you're over here trying to get a promotion and climb the corporate ladder, when the prophet said, what's on the inside of you that you've had buried on the inside of you for all these years you've been born, and you've never tapped into it. And the reason why you're struggling is because you're trying to do a job that's just over broke, J-O-B, instead of tapping into what you were created to do so you can begin to thrive, y'all. He says to her, I ain't worried about no resume, lady. I'm not worried about your LinkedIn profile. I want to know what's on the inside of your house. So this woman says, I don't got nothing in the house, yo, except a flask of oil. And so Elijah says, I want you to go to all your neighbors' house, go to everybody in the neighborhood, and I need you to make sure you borrow as many as you can, pour the olive oil into the jars, and I want you to go and I want you to sell it, pay off your debt, and live off of it. All right, y'all. Now, one of the key things you got to extract from this passage too is part of this passage, it says this, then go into your house with your sons and shut the door behind you. AKA, stop telling everybody your business, y'all. Elijah gave her instructions and said, shut the door behind you. Don't let anybody know in this season what you're working on. Don't let anybody in this season know what you got going on the inside of your house, what God is doing on the inside of you, what you're creating. If you go back to Nehemiah, when he was rebuilding the city walls of Jerusalem and he was in a building process, the Bible says he went out by nighttime and he told no one what was in his heart. He told no one his plans, y'all. Listen, stop telling people your plans. Stop telling people what you're working on. Just wait for the time when God says reveal it, and let people see then, y'all. Because if you tell people what you're working on, there's some naysayers out there, y'all. There's some haters out there, y'all. There's some people that practice witchcraft low key and will speak curses against what you're working on. So you can't be letting people know what you're working on and what you're creating in this season, y'all. Do stuff in private, and when the time is right, God will allow you to reveal it at the right time, y'all. But in this season, shut the door. Don't tell anyone what you're working on and what you're creating on. The time is gonna come when it's gonna be time to reveal what you've been working on in private. But right now, shut the door and be quiet about what you're creating. So as we wrap up this passage, y'all, we'll see that Elijah tells the woman of God to go and sell the oil, pay off her debts, and her sons can live off the rest, y'all. She was now living in overflow. At the beginning of this chapter, we see her crying broke, but at the end of the chapter, we see her now living a life in abundance, and we see this woman going from surviving to now thriving, and she did not do that with a job, y'all. She did that with what was on the inside of her. A couple months ago at my house, around the neighborhood, they had a garage sale, and people, what were they doing? They were taking everything that was on the inside of the house, y'all, and they were putting it out on display, and people were coming and buying things that were on the inside of the house. Listen, my wife, she does something on something called Macari. It's an app, and she puts different clothes and purses and old shoes that she doesn't wear that's just sitting in the closet, y'all. And guess what? She gets paid off of that stuff, y'all. It's like every week, y'all, I'm seeing her post new things and sell new things and get money. And I'm like, bro, like you got so many, clothes and shoes just out the clear blue. And like you're just making money off of this app. She's using what's on the inside of the closet that's just sitting there. I wonder what's on the inside of you. I wonder what God created you to do. I wonder why you are existing on this earth. Do you really think that you're existing just to clock in 9 to 5 to make some corporation wealthy, y'all? Nah, there's something on the inside of you. And I want your paradigm, I want your mindset to shift. And I want you to sit back and I want you to ask yourself, God, what did you put me here for? Why am I here? What was I created to do? I want you to begin to build a relationship with the Creator, and I want you to begin to ask, what did you create me to do so I can begin to thrive and not survive, y'all? Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a couple different things, a couple different avenues that you can take to get you from a place of surviving to thriving. And before we do that, I want to go over a few vocabulary terms with you that you need in the arsenal to be able to educate you, y'all. So here's the first vocabulary term, y'all. Residual. R-E-S-I-D-U-A-L. Residual. We're going to talk about residual income. It simply says this: residual income includes earnings that involve some work to get started, but then profits continue to come in after the initial work is completed. In other words, you work one time and continue to get paid. So I do health insurance on the side, right? And with health insurance, when you sell a policy, depending on what brokerage firm you work for, you get something called a renewal. You get something called residual income, meaning that if I sell a person a supplement or any type of advantage plan, what happens is I get paid not only on that plan, but I get a renewal. I get a residual payment year after year after year that this person stays on the plan. So I worked one time and continue to get paid, y'all. Listen, it's the easiest thing, y'all. You need to make sure that you're doing something that is renewal based or residual based, like music. You could literally record a song, and you record a song. If they play your song in a movie, if they play your song on some type of TV episode or a commercial, if they play your song, then you're getting paid if you're the person that has publishing rights. Get that? You want to make sure you're the actual person that owns the publishing, because if you are, you getting paid, y'all. The artist may not get paid, but the person that actually wrote the song and the person that actually owns the publishing rights, that's the person that's getting paid, y'all. So you want to make sure that you're doing something where you can get residual income. So those are just examples. Health insurance, music, you could do things as such as even your podcast, y'all. You could do a podcast, and eventually, you know what I'm saying, as you're putting your stuff on YouTube and more people watch it and watch it and watch it and share it, all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, you're now now getting sponsors, and you're now getting paid off of one time of you doing a recording of a podcast, y'all. I want you to begin to think a little bit and ask yourself, how can I work one time and continue to get paid, y'all? So that's just an example. All right, y'all, so here's the second vocabulary term I want us to go over, y'all. I want you to write down this word dividend. Now, dividends are simply a payout that a company pays to its shareholders who invest in stock in the company, y'all. So listen, if you invest in the stock market, then what happens is, as that business or that corporation or that company does well, it shares its profits with its shareholders who are invested into the company or the business, and it's paid out in something called a dividend. So I invest, and when I invest every single month, the companies that I invest in, they give me something called a dividend. They give me a little bit of the profit that they're getting from their company. So that means when the company does well and their profits are going up, they give me a little bit of a share. And what I do is I take that money and then I just reinvest it and I buy more stock, y'all. This is another way to where you can be able to continue to increase your income without you having to continue to give so much of your hours and so much of your time. Just take your money from your paycheck and put it into the stock market and let it sit, and every month collect dividend payments, and take that money and continue to reinvest it and allow that money to grow. And the key thing is, y'all, don't touch it, yo. Just don't touch it. Let it grow. Let it continue to work for you. That's working smart, not hard. That's allowing your money to work for you and not you work for money. Focus on this term, dividends, y'all, dividends. All right, y'all, so since we're in the vein right now, talking about stocks and talking about dividends and talking about investing, I want to give you a quick loophole of how you can be able to use other people's money, OPM, other people's money, to be able to buy stock, y'all. So every single month, I want to give you a recommendation or a suggestion as to what I do and what maybe you might want to consider doing as well. So every month, when I have to get a haircut, when I got to buy groceries, when I got to get gas, when I go out to eat, when I buy clothes or shoes, I try to use my Apple Card or a credit card so that way I can be able to get points, which I then convert into cash, which I then take that cash and do what? I can invest it, y'all, off of other people's money. The name of the game is not to pay interest, but to earn interest, y'all. Listen, if you don't pay your credit card off by the end of the month, you're going to be paying interest. But if you know how to play the game and you don't let them play you and you learn the game's rules, then now you can be able to figure out loopholes of how you can use other people's money to be able to go forth and invest and continue to increase your income and be able to set yourself up for the future. So listen, every single month, y'all, what I want you to do, buy your groceries with your card. Pay for your haircut, your nails, whatever, with your card. Go into the restaurant, and when you're done eating, pay with your card. And make sure that you pay everything off. Your light bill, your water bill, whatever it is you're using it on, make sure you pay off the bill by the end of the month, so that way you don't incur any type of interest payments and you've made money off of the bank without them making money off of you, and you're now practicing something called OPM, other people's money, to be able to invest into your future, y'all. Now listen, when we're talking about credit cards real quick, I want to give you a discretion real quick. I want you to write this down. I want you to write down credit utilization. I want you to make sure that you keep your credit utilization at 30%. So when you are looking at your credit score, a lot of times they look at your credit utilization. When you're getting ready to go get a loan, they're looking at your credit utilization, meaning how much of a percentage are you using out of your credit card. So that means if you have a credit card that, say, gives you $1,000, you only want to spend $300. You only want to spend 30% of what's on your credit card. You don't want to max it out, y'all. I've been there, made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I'm trying to give you a little bit of wisdom. You want to make sure that you keep your credit utilization at 30%. So if you're out there and you have a credit card and you've never heard this term before, credit utilization, Keep it at 30% because when you're trying to go get a loan or you're trying to do anything financially, you need to make sure that your credit utilization is at 30% and not any higher, and it's not maxed out, so that way they can see that you have a good credit history and that you're not out here maxing out cards, y'all. So remember that vocabulary term, credit utilization. Keep it at 30%. So again, if you have $1,000 on your credit card, only spend 30% of that, which is $300. Just an example. All right, y'all, so the next thing I want to talk about real quick, I want to talk about 6 steps that I take when I get paid, y'all. This is just a recommendation. This is just a suggestion. You can do whatever you want to do with your money. I'm just saying that I use this in my own life, and I'm blessed, y'all. Like, straight up, I am blessed, and I give God all the glory for that. 6 steps, y'all. Number 1, pay your tithes. I know a lot of people don't believe in tithing. I know a lot of people don't believe in paying 10%. I know a lot of people are like, you know what I'm saying, like churches and all these other people, you know what I'm saying, they be scamming out here. Hey, some people, they're dishonest, and I don't disagree, y'all. Some people have done some shady things, and yeah, that's something I can't fix, y'all, you know, and sorry about that, you know, but one thing I can tell you is that with myself, I believe in tithing, and I believe in giving more than 10%. I believe in giving more than 10% to advance the kingdom of God. A reason a lot of people are broke, I feel, and a lot of people are struggling is because they're stingy. They don't know how to be generous. They don't know how to give. So a lot of times I'm always looking for people to be able to be a blessing to. I'm always looking for how I can be able to support someone's business. I'm always looking to see how I can be able to give to somebody in the street or in the community. I'm always thinking of a reason to give. Here's a principle that I want you to get from Proverbs chapter 11, verse 24 through 25. It reads, "Give freely and become more wealthy. Be stingy and lose everything. The generous will prosper. Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed." That's Proverbs chapter 11, verse 24 through 25. So what that's telling you is that when you're stingy, money stays away from you. But when you're generous and you're always thinking of how can I be a blessing to somebody? How can I make sure somebody else is eating? How can I make sure somebody else's lights are paid? How can I make sure somebody else's water is paid? Am I checking on people to make sure they're good? It's not about us being good, but there's a lot of people right now that are going through financially with inflation and everything that's going on. So my wife and I are always thinking about how can we be able to be generous and how can we be able to help other people, y'all. So remember that passage in Proverbs chapter 11, verse 24 through 25. Give freely and become more wealthy. That's a principle, y'all. Find someone to bless. So number 1, in my 6 steps that I follow, I pay my tithes. I advance the kingdom. I'm always thinking about when I get money, God, how can I use this to be able to help someone's life change? I can't just pray for people. I have to meet needs as well. Jesus was not just out here praying. He was actually doing miracles, signs, and wonders. He was feeding people, feeding the multitudes. He met needs. He met practical needs. So you always have to sit back and ask yourself, God, I don't just want to pray for people. I want to ask myself, how can I be able to have resources to be able to be generous, to be able to be a blessing to people? So number 1, advance the kingdom. Get that in your mindset. Pay your tithes, advance the kingdom. So the second thing that I want to give you out of these 6 steps, y'all, I want to talk about an emergency fund, y'all. Just a recommendation or a suggestion to start off with like $1,000 just to put into an emergency account. So you might have to skip buying the latest Jordans. You might have to skip getting your nails done. You might have to skip a little bit of trying to go out and eat. You might have to skip a few things just so you can get that $1,000 saved. I'm telling you, once you get that $1,000 saved, you're going to feel so accomplished, and you're going to be like, man, I want to save another 1,000. I want to save another 1,000. But start with a minimum goal of about $1,000 that you put away. Listen, a lot of people right now, if they were to lose their jobs right now, they'll be homeless, y'all, because they're not forward thinkers. They're not thinking about how they can be able to have something put away in case hard times come about, y'all. I can remember a time when I was working at this cruise company, I was one of their top sellers. I was like 21 years old. And what happened was I got the job around January, February, and then I come into work October the same year, and all of a sudden we couldn't sell one cruise line. The next day we go into work, we couldn't sell that cruise line. The next day we come into work, we couldn't sell this cruise line. And it ultimately led down to the last day we couldn't sell nobody. And the job told us, hey, the person that owns the company, they weren't doing right with the money. They weren't paying the cruise companies their share. And the whole entire company got shut down. And guess what? I was broke at 21, had no money, had no savings, no emergency account, y'all. If you look at the prodigal son in the book of Luke, it says that he came into a large lump sum of money, and the Bible says that a famine came. And when the famine came, the Bible says that he began to starve because he spent all his money in wild living. So therefore, he had nothing put to the side, y'all. That's in Luke chapter 15. He had no money saved. He had no type of emergency account. And so he found himself struggling financially simply because he wasn't a forward thinker and he didn't have any money put away. Make sure that you have an emergency account. Start off with $1,000 and go from there, y'all. All right, y'all, so let's talk about step number 3, which is to invest. So the third thing I do when I get money is I invest. So number 1, I pay my tithes. I always think about how I can advance the kingdom. Number 2, I make sure I put money towards an emergency account because I want to be a forward thinker just in case I lose a job, just in case my car breaks down, just in case the stove breaks, just in case the refrigerator breaks, just in case my water heater breaks, just in case something breaks down. I want to make sure I'm being a forward thinker and putting something away. And now my third thing is I want to make sure I invest for the future. Listen, you can open up a Fidelity or a Charles Schwab or a Vanguard account online. Go and Google Vanguard brokerage account, Fidelity brokerage account, Charles Schwab brokerage account. Go into a bank, ask questions, open up a brokerage account. You can literally open up a brokerage account for free with Fidelity. Just download the app on your cell phone and you can be able to start your investment journey, and you can start having your money work for you and stop working for money. Because when you start to collect dividends, you can start seeing some growth happen, and you can start having those dividends begin to work for you, and you put that money back into the investment account and buy more stock. All right, that's step number 3. So number 4, when I get paid, what I'm thinking now is I want to make sure that I spread the money out, and I want to make sure that I put money towards a Christmas fund, birthday funds, anniversary funds. These are things that happen every year. Tech funds, because I like to buy new iPhones, like to buy new iWatches and iPads. I want to make sure I have the latest gear. And so I want to make sure that I put money away every paycheck to make sure that I have a Christmas fund, anniversary funds, birthday funds, tech fund, clothing fund. You want to put a little bit of money in each of these funds every time you get paid, so that way when the new Jordans drop, you don't have to go broke to buy them. That way when the new iPhone comes out, you don't have to use your credit card. You can be able to just pull from your fund that you've been saving for throughout the year. That way when Christmas comes, you don't have to be like, dang, I ain't got no money. No, you put away $25, $50 a month, and it just adds up throughout the year. And so when Christmas time comes, you don't have to be stressed out about how you're going to buy Christmas presents, because you're being a forward thinker and you already have a little bit of money that you're putting towards that particular fund. So anniversaries, birthdays, Christmas, tech, clothes, all types of things like that. Put money aside so that way you don't have to stress out when that time comes to buy someone a gift. All right, so that's step number 4. I want you to put money away for those small things throughout the year. All right, so let's talk about step number 5, y'all. Step number 5, pay your bills. Notice that I didn't put pay my bills at the top of the chart. I put pay your bills at number 5, y'all. I make sure I take care of God's business. I make sure I got an emergency fund. I make sure I invest. I make sure I have a little bit of money for anniversaries, Christmas, birthdays, etc. And then lastly, that's what I do, number 5, is I pay my bills. And right now you might be saying, well, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't do all those things and be able to pay my bills. That, my friend, should lead you to this. Find out what God created you to do and stop doing something you were trained to do, so you can begin to thrive and not survive. Because if you're going to a job every day right now and you can barely make ends meet, stop giving people your hours and your time and your energy and your effort. Now, I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow. I'm not saying go in there and be like, I'm not doing this no more, because you have to have a strategy. You have to have a plan. But what I am saying is you need to really spend time with God and ask God, what did you create me to do? What is your passion? Maybe you like videography. Maybe you like to bake. Maybe you like cooking food. Maybe you like doing hair. Maybe you like doing nails. Maybe you like doing graphics. There's something out there that you're passionate about, that you love doing, that you feel that, man, I would love to do this. Spend some time, invest in your craft, and begin to tap into that. And maybe you can use that to begin to walk in freedom. Okay, so the fifth thing, pay your bills. And if you can't pay your bills with what you're making at your job, you need to really consider and reconsider, why do I keep going there every single day, y'all? Don't get comfortable. Don't get complacent. Don't get to a place to where you're so fearful that you stay stuck. Hear me. Don't get to the place that you're so fearful at some job that you stay stuck. And 5-10 years from now, you're broke and you realize that they took all of your time, all of your talent, and all of your energy that you can't get back. Step number 5, pay your bills. All right, y'all, so here's the last one. Step number 6, spend. That's the last thing. You don't want to spend before you do anything else, y'all. Spending is last. So make sure that you pay your tithes. Make sure you put money to the side for the emergency fund. Make sure you invest. Make sure you put some money aside for savings, for Christmas, anniversaries, birthdays, clothing, things of that nature. Number 5, pay your bills. And lastly, spend a little bit on yourself, y'all. But the goal is to make sure that you're at a place to where you have your gift that's allowing you to bring in income to be able to pay your bills and to where you can spend money, and not a company that you have to work for to pay your bills. So that's the 6 steps that I want to give you, y'all. So number 1, type it in the chat, y'all. Number 1, pay tithes. Number 2, put money towards an emergency fund. Number 3, invest. Number 4, save money for Christmas, birthdays, clothing, tech, anniversaries. Number 5, pay your bills. Number 6, then you can spend. All right? So now I want to talk about LLC, a limited liability company, y'all. Listen, school played us, y'all. I'm going to tell you straight up, school played us. School taught us how to be workers, but they did not teach us how to be able to have an imagination, how to be able to dream, y'all. There's a quote that I want to give you by Walt Disney, and it reads, "Laughter is timeless, imagination has no age, and dreams are forever." I'm gonna read it again, y'all. Laughter is timeless, imagination has no age, dreams are forever, y'all. Listen, school does not teach you and I how to dream. It does not teach us how to have an imagination. It teaches us how to flow in their system, and we have to defy the system if we're going to be successful in life, y'all. Listen, they teach us to go to college, and after you go to college, you'll wind up getting a good job, right? Right? The reality is, no. The reality is most people, they spent $100,000 just to be able to get an entry-level job that pays them $40,000 to $50,000 a year. That's why people depressed, y'all. They went to school for 4 years. They have $40,000 to $50,000 that they're making every year, and they can't even be able to pay back their student loan debt because of the simple fact they're not making enough with this entry-level job. They got a bachelor's or a master's degree that they can't even do nothing with, y'all. And half the people that went to college, what they went to college for, they're not even doing a job in that field, y'all. It's crazy, y'all. We have to defy the system because the math ain't mathing to me, y'all. Why would I spend $100,000 just to be able to make $40,000 to $50,000 a year? I don't know about y'all, but I'm not Albert Einstein, but the math ain't mathing, y'all. Straight up, y'all. So I want to talk about an LLC, y'all, a limited liability company. Listen, school didn't teach you this, so I want to teach you this. You want to make sure that you get a limited liability company, a LLC, y'all. Why do you need that? Because you want to be able to get tax breaks and tax deductions, y'all. If you work for a company right now, you, just like me, have gotten your check, and when you get your check, you're like, dang, man, Uncle Sam robbed me, yo. Like, they took all my money. The government crazy, bro. Like, they over here just taking all my money. I've been there. You probably been there, so I know you probably feel me. The reality is, if you're working for someone, they're going to continue to tax you, and you're going to continue to be broke when you get your paycheck. You spent all that time working, and you're like, bro, like, I have no money left. Like, what is this? That's why you need an LLC, because when you have an LLC, you get tax deductions and tax breaks. Listen, I'm gonna give you an example real quick, okay? So with an LLC, these are some of the things that I can get tax deducted when I go and purchase things, right? So when I go out and I'm doing ministry, and throughout the weekend, I could be buying a meal, right? For me and somebody else, right? And we're just doing ministry stuff and we're talking about ministry, right? I can use that meal and I can write that off. So if I spend $200, $300, $400, $500 on a meal, I can use that as a tax deduction if I'm doing business on that particular meeting, okay? So if I'm doing business, I can be able to write that off. Another thing, your iPhone. If you use your iPhone and you're using it for business purposes and you have a business phone number and you're using it straight for business, you can write off your iPhone. You can write off your phone bill every single month. Also, you have to look at your flights, your hotels when you travel. If I'm going to an event on a Friday or a Saturday on the weekend, and if I go and I have to take a flight or get a hotel or a rental car, I can write that stuff off, y'all, because I have a business. I have an LLC. It's all about tax deductions. It's all about how can I write off my phone bill? How can I write off my meals? How can I write off my flights? How can I write off my hotel, my iPhone? How can I write off my utilities and my home and my internet if I have a business in the house and I create a space in a house to where I'm running a business? It's all about how you can keep more of your money instead of giving the government more of your money. So listen, check this out. If you made $100,000 this year and you spent $40,000 to be able to run and operate your business and everything you had to pay for your business, instead of you getting taxed on $100,000, you're actually getting taxed on $60,000. So it actually appears as if you only made $60,000 that year, when in actuality, you actually made $100, but they're only taxing you on the $60 because of the simple fact you spent $40 to be able to run the business. So what's happening now is you're getting taxed on less than what you're actually making, y'all. I'm telling you, this is a game you have to learn. Tax deductions, being able to keep more of your money, y'all. Get an LLC. Go to LegalZoom. I use LegalZoom. It was a very simple process. Take the time, go on there, research, Google, use LegalZoom. It's a great experience that I had, and it can be able to get you set up with everything you need to be able to start your own business, y'all. So that's something I want to encourage you with, y'all. Do not continue to go to a job and continue to be in a place where you feel trapped. Begin to start your own brand, start your own business, and get out of the cycle, get out of the rat race, get out of the place of feeling trapped. All right, y'all, so we're almost done wrapping everything up, y'all, and I want to talk about real quick about supply and demand, okay? Supply and demand. And I also want to talk about business, and all business is simply creating a need or finding a need. Listen, when I was probably 12, 13 years old, I couldn't get a job, you know what I'm saying? I'm like 12, 13 years old, and I remember that my father and I, we went to this bike store, right? And we went into this bike store, I was like, yo, like this green bike, this Huffy, I want that bike, y'all. Like, I really want that bike. I didn't ask my parents for the money because ever since I was like 12, 13 years old, I've always been like, I'll get it myself. Like, I can do it myself. Always had that mentality. And so I couldn't shake the fact that I saw that bike and how much I wanted it. So I said to myself, instinctively, no one told me to do this, but instinctively, something in my instinctive nature said, go get some papers, write on there, car wash, and begin to go and knock on doors and ask people if you can wash their cars. So I took my bucket around, my soap around, and I began to knock on doors, and I began to ask people if I could be able to wash their cars. I said $5. And so I began to wash people's cars, y'all, in the neighborhood. And I raised up $50, and then my grandma, she saw how hard I was working, and she gave me $25. And then my dad, he matched her and gave me $25. And I bought the bicycle, which was $100. And that began to spark something up on the inside of me to where I said, I'm not going to wait for a paycheck. I'm going to create a paycheck. I want you to hear this. I'm not going to wait for a paycheck. I'm going to create a paycheck. When you tap into what's on the inside of you, you can begin to create paychecks and stop waiting on paychecks. Stop waiting every Friday for someone to pay you and start creating a paycheck. You need to shift that mindset of yours, and you need to start thinking, I'm not going to wait for a paycheck anymore. I'm going to really take the time to seek God on how I can create paychecks, y'all. So at 12, 13 years old, I remember now I got this bicycle, and then that's when this goal orientation type of mindset kind of kicked in. And I said, well, I bought the bike. I want to buy clothes. I want to buy shoes. I want to buy this. And so what I did, I looked for a problem, y'all. I looked for a problem. And one of the problems that I saw as I was washing people's cars, I saw how high their grass was. And I asked them, I was like, who cuts your grass? And so they had no one cutting their grass. And I said, not only will I wash your car, but I'll also cut your grass. $10 for the front and $10 for the back. And I'm literally 12, 13 years old buying Jordans. I'm cutting mad people's yards in the neighborhood. And this was me creating a paycheck instead of waiting for someone to give me an allowance. I wasn't waiting for my parents to give me an allowance. I said I'm going to create funds so I can be able to buy the things that I desire, y'all. This is something I want you to learn. Find a problem, okay? Find a problem. So if you're broke right now or you're struggling financially, ask yourself, what problems are there right now that I could possibly be able to solve with the gift that God has given me? Your gift that God has given you was put on the inside of you to solve a problem. You're really a problem solver. Your gift that God has given you was actually invested on the inside of you to solve problems in the earth. I need you to get this, y'all. Your gift that God has given you, God has given it to you to solve a problem. So every person that is born and is walking this earth, they have a gift on the inside of them. And that gift that they have was meant to solve a problem. Every last one of us on this earth that's walking around, we were meant to solve problems. And we have something on the inside of us that we need to tap into, that we were created to do, so we can be able to find out what problem we were created to solve. All right, y'all, so we're done with today's message. I pray it bless each and every one of you out there. If you rock with the content, y'all, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe and follow the channel. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well, y'all. We out here to inspire, we're out here to motivate and make sure that people live above their potential and not below their potential, y'all. So we done. Until next time, this your boy 13th Disciple, 13TH, aka the Young John the Baptist. You know what it is. Go make disciples. Let go.